got people lined up for questions. I just got one more, because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out, I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian. And I go to church and I love God and I love my church. And Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale was my pastor. The Power of Positive Thinking. Everybody's heard of Norman Vincent Peale. He was so great. He would give a sermon. You never wanted to leave. Sometimes we have sermons and every once in a while we think about leaving a little early, right? Even though we're Christian. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Frank, would give a sermon. I'm telling you, I still remember his sermons. It was unbelievable. And what he would do is he'd bring real life situations, modern day situations into the sermon. And you could listen to him all day long. When you left the church, you were disappointed that it was over. He was the greatest guy. And then, he passed away, but he was a great, he wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a great book.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. Now, when I take, when we go in church and when I drink my little wine, which is about the only wine I drink, and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. And I do that as often as possible because I feel cleansed.
Great Norman Vincent Peale. Go look him up. That's all you have to do. They don't even know what they're saying. They don't know it's bad. He doesn't understand what it actually means to sit there and gush about how great Norman Vincent Peale is. Just like the female version of Trump doesn't know what it sounds like when she says, let's just get rid of all the whites in the United States. It's that simple. Why didn't anybody think of it before? I have a number of reasons why nobody thought of it before. Good Lord. She's a minority. She's a pharaoh's daughter. You can tell the phenotype of the face with the red hair. Claiming to be part of a tribe she's not. So, let's start this part off with an interesting video I saw where it named the biggest land owners in the world by country first, or government. The first is England. You can look up how much. It's an insane amount. So number 1 is England. Red, white, and blue. Number 2 is Russia. Red, white, and blue. Number 3 is China. Number 4 is USA. Red, white, and blue. Number 5 is Saudi Arabia. I already told you who the House of Saud is. You could look it up. Landowners, the largest landowners by single individual. Queen Elizabeth, she's no longer here, so I assume it would go to Charles. So now you have Charles would be number 1, I assume, because it's information's probably from 5 or 7 years ago. Number 2 would be the King of Saudi Arabia, which I think has passed since this information. So the new King of Saudi Arabia would inherit that, and everybody just got richer from 2019 to now. All the people who are already millionaires or billionaires are now even bigger millionaires and billionaires. The third largest landowner individual is the King of Thailand at the time. It's like 7 years ago, so I think it's a new King Thailand now, right? Or am I thinking the Philippines? And then number 4 is the King of Morocco. Morocco is where we get the fez from. and when Freemasonry started absorbing Islam, because it already had absorbed various things, mainly Judaism and Christianity, into its functions. Because if you ever heard the full oath of the Jesuits, it's basically doppelgangers. So think about this. Queen Elizabeth most likely passing away during the Kara Anna. And then they hide it until they have their ceremony. In 2017, there was that that Freemason ceremony where they were anybody's seen it who is into this stuff, where they did 2017. Rothschild, I think it was Jacob Rothschild, was the Grand Master of it. It's televised or something, or it was videotaped for somebody and it got out. I don't know what it. 2017, the Queen sent a letter acknowledging it. They sang "God Save the Queen." It was a giant looking glass in the middle. Many people have probably seen it already. I might show parts of it in another video, but I didn't get to edit it in time. So yeah, so remember about 5 or 7 years ago, whenever this information was, biggest land ownership by nation, England, UK, number 1, number 2, Russia, number 3, China, number 4, US, number 5, Saudi Arabia. And then largest landowners by individual, Queen of England, which is now Charles. Charles is now the Queen of England. Second, King of Saudi Arabia, which is now a new King of Saudi Arabia since this information. Then 3, the King of Thailand. And 4, the King of Morocco. You have to watch these things. Land ownership is very important in Scripture. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entities. Trump traveled to China, then Saudi Arabia, then Israel, which you could say maybe is represented by England, and then the Vatican may be represented by Russia, since Russia, when it started off with the Tsars, claimed it was the revival of Rome. And then the US, of course, would be G20. And Trump did the whole sword dances and everything. If you remember in Saudi Arabia, they all touched the globe. Trump put his hands on America. And then basically the screens that they were seeing in front of them are technology to see into any phone. See how they can't totally track you, but if you're on a list, they can go in that room and look at anything and anybody that's using it. It's literally the Eye of Sauron. They were all grabbing that globe and looking into what would be very, very similar to the power of the ring in Lord of the Rings. I'm not even kidding. Technology came, stole my liver again. All right. Ain't nobody buying records no more. What is it? What was I getting to? Babylon, Saudi Arabia. The Great Turkish War is on the paper right here, but I wanted to just wait a little bit to show this video. Only I can hear the video. I'm going to narrate it because the lady's voice is very annoying. And she says some things that just aren't true. I'll even say what she says, so it's not like I'm covering up. I'll say what she says, but it's not true. Great Turkish War, 1667 through 1698. Something 1666 must have set them off, huh? The Great Turkish War refers to a series of conflicts between the Ottoman Empire and contemporary European powers, then joined into the Holy League during the second half of the 17th century. Remember what all this stuff was building up to? 1672 to 1678, English Glorious Revolution, William of Orange. William of Orange. Cannot make this stuff up, people. Let's read. The Glorious Revolution, also called the Revolution of 1688, remember the Trump with the 88 stuff? It's really strange. Was the overthrow of King James II of England. Don't think of the actual man. Think of King James Bible. Just remember when Trump's holding up the Bible and everybody got... Because in his mind, he's ready to cast it down. Under his rule, truth is cast down to the ground, says in Daniel. What is the truth? It's Scripture. They put their hand on it when they swear, but it's not what you think. James the Seventh of Scotland, it was his other name. So he ruled England and Scotland. By a union of English parliamentarians with the Dutch stadtholder William III, Prince of Orange. So William III, Prince of Orange, was Dutch. Look up what a typical Dutch boy looks like. You're going to have to come to terms with certain things. Because it's not a coincidence that the Prince of Orange is Dutch and does this glorious revolution, and it's in 1688. And now we have a Trump 88 in 2016 who's orange. Literally paints his face orange. There's interviews you can tell it's like so orange that he's trying to tell you something. It's ridiculously orange. Why do you think the Oompa Loompas are orange? Troglodytes. Why do you think they talk about his little hands? My hands aren't little. His yod is. You understand? He's a troglodyte. 1688 to 1697, 9 Years' War, Palatine Succession. The War of the Grand Alliance, 1688 to 97, often called the 9 Years' War, the War of the Palatine Succession. Palatine, I think, is the hill of Rome, isn't it? The Palatine Hill or something. Call for Papa Palpatine. Oh man, call for Papa Palpatine. 1690. You'd have to get the reference. I'm not gonna give that show any glory. 1690, the Battle of the Boyne. Boyne in Ireland. The Battle of the Boyne was a battle in 1690 between the forces of the deposed King James II of England and those of the Dutch Prince William of Orange. Ireland might get involved with some stuff over the next few years. They've always had trouble with the Irish, haven't they? Let's see, I wanted to get kind of into the video before I mention other stuff. I'll get past this page. I'll do that. 1700 to 1721, Great Northern War. Great Northern War, 1700 to 1721, was a conflict in which the coalition led by the Tsardom of Russia successfully contested the supremacy of the Swedish Empire in northern, central, and eastern Europe. Why? Because they were becoming more and more Egyptian. And they're like, we don't need the Swedes anymore. Remember, Sweden literally means to split Eden. So Putin is a brother of Egypt. It's just conflicts until they settle who's the biggest big brother. You understand? So that's very interesting. 1701 to 1714, War of the Spanish Succession. See how they're all, the Roche is happening. They're all trying to be the Antichrist. The War of the Spanish Succession was fought among several European powers, principally the Holy Roman Empire, Great Britain, the Dutch Republic, Portugal, and the Duchy of Savoy, against the kingdoms of France and Spain and the Electorate. Hope people are seeing what's building. Siege of Barcelona. Bar's son, Celona, Selena, it's either the heavens or the moon. So the son of the moon or the son of the heavens. Remember why I said the moon is, what the heavens are, the aristocracy. Ari comes from a Shemite. Not Egypt. They replaced it with Egypt, and that's why they don't even call it the aristocracy anymore. It's because they replaced it with Egypt. It didn't begin as Egypt. And the people are similar to pharaonic phenotypes. That's why when Abraham went in there, they wanted his wife. I mean, yeah, they wanted his wife because she was like a 10 and she looked like those people. Reddish hair, blue eyes, light skin. That's how David was described, and that's how the Egyptian pharaohs looked until their skin was darkened by the sun. That's why they all are depicted as orange or red, because of their sunblock they would wear. People of this bloodline would wear orange makeup, wouldn't they? Mitt Romney has worn orange makeup. Biden has worn the orange makeup. Trump has worn the orange makeup. There's a lot of people who have worn the orange makeup. This isn't a metaphor. It's physical orange makeup. 1714, Siege of Barcelona was a battle at the end of the War of Spanish Succession. Okay. Let's continue. I just want to finish this page and then I'll go over the video. 1733 1738, War of the Polish Succession. Remember, I think I talked about Cannonball Run, the Gunball Rally, and then the Cannonball Run. This is what it's all talking about. It's a race to the Queen Mary. The War of the Polish Succession, 1733 to 1738, was a major European war for princes' possessions sparked by a Polish civil war over the succession to Augustus II, King of Poland, that other European powers widened in pursuit of their own national interests. And so the wheel turns again. 1740 to 1748, War of the Austrian Succession. Why is all this happening right before America is born, huh? Huh? The War of the Austrian Succession, 1740 to 48, also known as King George's War in North America, and incorporating the War of Jenkins' Ear with Spain and two of the three Cilician Wars, involved nearly all the powers of Europe. Austrians, huh? What happened in World War II? Very Austrian-looking man did the same thing. For like the third time. It's called the freaking Third Reich for a reason. 1754, 1763, the 7 Years' War. It's interesting, I just talked about 7 years. The Kingdom of Great Britain was one of the leading participants in the 7 Years' War, which lasted 1754 to 1763. These are all birth pains, but the end is not yet. The man of lawlessness must be revealed first. And before that, the Great Rebellion. (1757 to 1769) and 1821. Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of the French. I think I'll go over that after I play this video. Now, you shouldn't hear it, so tell me if you do hear it. But you shouldn't, because I did the settings, because I'm just going to narrate it for you. And they said that the tribe of Dan became seafaring pirates. So they put the symbol of the snake and the dragon on their emblem. And supposedly this is like emblems of the other tribes, but it was prophesied in Dan that he would be a viper in the path that bites the horse's heels so that he falls backwards and is broken. So don't tread on me. Oh man. So she falsely claims that the tribe of Dan is prophesied to be the Antichrist, which isn't true. It doesn't prophesy it anywhere, but tribe of Dan being described that way is very telling. And then also the tribe of Dan isn't listed in the book of Revelation of the 144,000 seals. You can go look that up. Dan is not mentioned. So so they have a crest of an eagle too. So it's the snake and the dragon with a crest of an eagle. Yeah, so I don't know what this video is showing. I don't know if it's a movie. So it says they became the Vikings or something. Oops. Yeah. So I don't know if this is from a movie, so that's why I'm blocking it. Yeah. So they claim that these guys possibly turned into the Danes, Dan, which means to invoke. Because it's door, it's a judge, but remember it's door of man. It's to invoke man. That's a judge. So they named rivers and stuff after their forefather. Yeah, there's the Danube River and the Jordan. There's literally the Jordan River. You can't make this up. And there's Denmark. Let me see here. I want to make sure I don't get copyright on something. All right. They claim something about vowels being introduced later in Hebrew, so sometimes things can be pronounced differently. That's true. So what she claims is there's different ways to pronounce Dan because of that. I'm really tired of this mouse. If you see stuff kind of moving around weird, it's because this mouse is glitching. And it's not the battery. I've already figured out that it's not the battery. It just keeps glitching, and it's really, really annoying. So what does she say here? Oops. Din, don, or den? Kate, this damn mouse needs to start working. So, den, din, don, Donald. Let me tell you what ald means again. Because I have to do that. So, ard or ald. Let me see if ald is in here. It can be almodad too. Ald. No, it's ard. Come on, here we go. Arad, to flee or be free. So Donald is literally Dan, the judge that is free. And that's what I forgot to mention actually, is you know how when he said that he goes, have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That is a judicial question. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? He has to answer judiciously. You got to understand how this man operates. To be a free man, remember all this maritime amity stuff? These people are bound to it. if you ever watch his interviews with David Letterman, he'd always get kind of irritated, you can tell, because David Letterman would try to get judicial answers out of him. Hey, you're worth like, five or $6 billion, aren't you? And you know what Trump says? Oh, I sure hope so. That sounds very good. He's never going to tell anybody how much money he has. He's never going to tell people how much he owns, because he owns land in names of other things. You got to understand how these people work. So it's like, yeah, you're worth about 8 billion, aren't you? Oh, 8 billion sounds pretty good. I really hope so. I really hope so. Is that what people are saying? Do you understand? Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? Well, there's this great Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale. He's it just keeps going on. Like, but have you ever asked God for forgiveness? He's like, I don't think I have. I don't think I have. He can't answer num quam considere. Do you understand? He cannot. He has to answer the judicial question. If you make him answer a question like that, it could put you in a lot of trouble. So that unless it was staged, that was a very brave thing for that guy to do, is to double down on it. You're worth about $6 billion, aren't you? Well, it sounds good. I hope so. You understand? He went through all this court stuff. I bet you if you listen to his answers and everything, it's like he says these things judicially on purpose because he's Dan Ard. Dan Ald. Ald means old. He's the old Dan. He's the old serpent that sits on the road and bites the horse's heels so its rider falls backward and is broken. And that's one of the few places in Scripture it literally says, I wait for Yehoshua, O Yehovah. I kid you not. Where it says that Dan will be a viper in the path, when it says his deed that he does, in Hebrew, it literally says, I wait for you, Yehoshua. Do you understand? This was before Joshua. Or it might have been Moses' blessing. But it's before Joshua did anything. But I'm pretty sure it was Abraham's blessing or it was Jacob's. But it could have been Moses's. But I'm pretty sure it was Jacob's where he said the rider falls backwards. Stuff is hundreds of years before it happens. Like, oh no, they hide Messiah. Here's the real prophecies about him where it says he's God. It's like, oh my, and they did try to hide it. It's like, then why don't they hide the part in Scripture where it literally says in Hebrew, I wait for you. He's waiting for the Messiah. That's the most blatant part in prophecy I've ever seen regarding Messiah. He literally says he waits for him and says his name. That's wild. So notice the red and white on the sails. Denmark. So Denmark means the mark of Dan, and I want you to look at this. East India Trading Company, Denmark. The Viking king Canute seized the throne of England. I'll just narrate what she's saying. Denmark and Sweden. Today's British royalty are descended from the serpent tribe of Dan, and the Viking kings whose symbol is the dragon. Prince Charles' coat of arms has a red dragon, and German words that say I serve. So it's I serve the red dragon on Prince Charles's thing here. Prince William's coat of arms has a red dragon on it, partially hidden. Let's see. So there's So when Prince William got married, this guy here that married him is an official member of some Druid club. Um, so it was all Freemasonic, I guess. Roman Williams is the Archbishop. Roman Williams literally means the determined protector of Rome. Romulus, who killed his own brother. Confirmed Druid member. Let's see. And Druids worship the sun in circles, stone circles. Let's see here. Yeah, and the British, I've already said this before, they claim descent from King David in Judah, but they're actually a tribe of Dan. See how they didn't get an inheritance, so they just claimed they were Judah? And they had a priest who was descended from the sons of Moses. Think about that. So they literally got a Mosaic Egyptian priesthood. Can't make this up. Yeah, the Union Jack. It's Jackton though. It's not Jacob. See, this woman's wrong. It's the Union Joktan. Joktan had 13 sons. So they can say 13 tribes. See, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know if you can make tribes out of this because you can see the blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 and 8 is like 16, isn't it? So I think there was 16 or 17 things that had to do with Egypt the other day that I was talking about, wasn't it? Oh no, Sweden or Norway or something had like 17 can't. I don't know. But yeah, it's the reunited kingdom, but not Jacob. They say it's Jacob. It's actually Joktan. And so the Jacobites that Alex Jones likes to rant about are actually Joktanites. So Union Jack. Yeah, so what they think, they're just like the Samaritans who got mad when the real Israelites didn't let them build the temple with them. And they're the ones who wrote the letters to the Persians saying, stop these guys from doing it because they won't let us build it with them. Because they're Joktanites, you see, spiritually. Doesn't matter what their genetics are. So there's 1,000 years before they got this Union Jack stuff together, right? And then it was 1,000 years till they reunited in Palestine. See this? It's crazy. So I'm going to repeat what she says in here because it's about the Balfour Declaration. Balfour is literally Balfegor. Balpeor. You can look this up. Look up Balfegor. It's Balpeor. It's the Baal of Peor. With the Balaam told the king of Moab, you can ensnare these people if you use women to do sex magic with them. That's what happened. So Balfour Declaration is literally the Baal of Peor Declaration. You cannot make this up. Lord Rothschild, I think his son or whoever it is, Jacob Rothschild, one of the Rothschilds was the Grand Master of that ceremony in 2017. You can go look up that stuff. I might show it on a future stream though. So I'll just repeat what this lady says. Let me see. 1917, British Earl of Balfour signed the Balfour Declaration, promising to give Palestine to Lord Rothschild and the Zionists. Declaration was made before the British had conquered the nation of Palestine at the end of World War I. Remember the transfer agreement? During World War II, American corporations gas money and vehicles and weaponry to Hitler and the Nazis. By the end of World War II, the British conquered and turned Palestine over to the Rothschilds Yeah, they bought Jerusalem. Remember when I said that in Gaza, 200 and over like 250 members of one family have been killed, and they're called Salem family, which means peace. But I'm like, it's weird. Did their family used to own Jerusalem? They're the Salem family. The Rothschilds bought it, they say. It's kind of weird, isn't it? And that technology they're calling the gospel. And it's used to map every Semitic phenotype. And when they're all done in Gaza, it will be unleashed on the world. And there'll be nobody to cry out to. You understand? Because everybody just let it happen. Yeah, all those cattle trucks. They took them to Palestine to put them there, and then they erased their name and gave them a new name. That's why there was only like 4 million in Europe at the time, these people who identified as Jews. So how can you get 6 million gone? Well, it's because they're, I mean, a lot died. According to the Red Cross, 250,000. That is a lot, especially if all those specifically had gold and all kinds of stuff. They were stealing gold. Hitler and the Nazis were stealing gold. Mussolini was stealing gold. Churchill was stealing gold. FDR was stealing gold. FDR and Churchill and whoever the else, some Catholic cardinal or something, they all met in Egypt to determine what they're going to do at the end of World War II. You cannot make this up. Because there is documented proof that a lot of these camps were relocation camps. That's why a lot of the security guards ended up being Jewish. The IDF existed before Israel was established, and the IDF was working in these camps. Do you understand? If you didn't join the IDF, they would try to starve your family members or beat them in front of you. It's documented as from Jewish people's own testimony. So, let's see. Okay. So that's the end of that one. So now we know about Dan. Isn't that something?
We've got people lined up for questions. I just got one more because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question.
It's not a tough question. I accidentally pressed that, by the way, but I let it play. It's not a tough question. Yes, I have asked God for forgiveness. I make mistakes. How hard is that? Of course I've asked God for forgiveness. God in Hebrew even means gad, to divide the spoil. It means fortune. So why didn't he just say something that wasn't technically a lie? Just be like, yeah, of course. And then you just go on to the next. But he can't. He has to answer a certain way. It's a tough question, he says. It's a tough question. And see, people are like, oh, if they asked him now, he'd say something different. It's like, then let somebody ask him. Nobody's going to get near him enough to ask him that. And if somebody actually does another time to get a renewed answer out of him, that person's going to be a target. That's how it works. It's because of money. What's this? Yeah, it's because of this. There's the eagle. With their unfinished building. See, they don't have the power to put the capstone on it because their power is weak. They're jocked it. Money, it's a gas. Grab that gas with both hands and make a stash. Okay. Remember, The skulls. Remember the skulls. The boons, Alex. Look at the boons. Remember Star Trek Into Darkness. Into Darkness, where they make the Khan character Messiah. The captain's chair of all the ships are called the Khan. So it even insinuates that Khan has the authority, the true authority over all these ships. The captain's chair is called the Khan. Do you understand? That's why they had the guy come out, Khazir Khan, and do the whole "my son died and Trump made fun of him" or something. Do you understand? You have Kamala Harris with a stepdaughter with a cow tattoo. You have Slash's daughter this is Slash's daughter with the same cow tattoo. It's his stepdaughter. Same pattern. Cow tattoo here. It's a pretty girl. It's a shame, ain't it? What is the cow? You have to look these things up. Oh, it's just a cute tattoo, whatever. I hope it is. I really do hope it's a cute tattoo. But, you know, that wasn't the case for that cult. Isn't it interesting how they only will spotlight what they want? It's like, oh yeah, this cult, oh, this evil man branded women and all that. It's like, yeah, that's evil. He's not the only one doing it. Oh, Jim Jones, he's such an evil guy. It's like, yeah, that's an evil thing to do, but he's not the only one doing it. Why are these people acting like he's the only one doing it? They only spotlight certain people so that you think that something's happening when it's not. Okay. So I'm just going to go through this, start going back through this list. This is the vault. Everything's monotheistic. It's just called the vault. The description is just what I'm doing. I don't have the time, the energy to label everything and label everything I speak of in the episode. I can't. So people would have to watch it just like they would read scripture. It's just like, oh, this is the book of this guy. This is the book of that guy. That's it. You have to read the book in order to know what's in it. It doesn't just tell you. You might get a study Bible put together where there's like a introduction to it that's very short and leads you up to it, but that's about it. So this is the same thing. I'm one person. This is just the book of Stephen, basically the book of what I saw and heard. And it's book of Shemiramoth because it's naming all these people who passed away, naming their names, taking their names and telling you their reputation based on their name. That's why I chose the name. And it's not a light thing to choose because it's not a 100% positive name. It's kind of like a 50% destruction, 50% blessing. Let's see. Napoleon, 1821, Emperor of the French. Even though he wasn't French, he was what do they call him? The Sicilian, right? Wasn't he Corsican? He was they would call him the Corsican. Why? Because he was not French. Putin is not Russian. He's Egyptian. He's a pharaoh. Trump is not the typical American. You understand? These people aren't. Obama isn't the kind of African or the kind of dark skin of the people in America that are like that. He's not even of that genetics. He's just, his skin is dark for a different reason, from a different genetic line than the actual brown and dark people in the US. Do you understand? The leader is always somebody who's not you physically. That's their way of doing this. I'm not saying that you have to have a leader that's your genetics. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to see their pattern. You have to see how they're doing things. We're at 45 right now talking about Napoleon. There's a commercial Trump did where he said Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, Donald Trump, we're all cut from the same cloth. Yeah, literally. Literally. He knows what he's saying. He knows who his ancestors are. He knows he's from the MacLeod clan. He knows it's the same as the movie Highlander. He knows there can only be one succession. He has no ties to anybody. I have no strings to hold me down. That's why he's demonic. He's cut off completely from the fifth dimension because he thinks he is the fifth dimension and higher. He will proclaim himself that. Do you understand? I got no strings on me to make me laugh or make me frown. He has no emotion anymore because he's cut it off. His consciousness has been seared. Like unreasoning animals, they make their decisions. Napoleon Bonaparte was a military and political leader of France, not a French. It says French military. No, he was a Corsican military and political leader who rose to prominence during the latter stages of the French revolutions. See, the French Revolution was already happening. This guy came in the end to make France great again and control the situation. That's what the Jesuits do. That's what they swear to do. In its associated wars in Europe, as Napoleon I, he was Emperor of the French from 1804 to 1814. All right. Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, Donald Trump were all cut from the same scarlet cloth. 1789 to 1794. The French Revolution on the end of the 47th minute mark that I'm looking at. And that will be Trump's new number if he becomes president again. All right. The French Revolution was a period of radical social and political upheaval in France from 1789 to 1799. Man, the 80s and 90s were crazy, weren't they? Isn't it funny how people say the same things about the 20s and the 90s and the 80s every century? Is the freaking roaring 20s. Right now, we're heading into Prohibition and World War I. Do you understand? It's the same thing. 2033 would be when it's not going to be the same thing, but I'm saying if we were to repeat again last century, 2026 and 7 is the writing of Mein Kampf, and 2033 is the implementation of it. If history repeated itself like it keeps doing every 100 years, it's the same thing. When was the 20s not the roaring 20s? When was the 80s not horrible? When were the 70s and 80s and 90s of any century something you just wanted to forget? Anyway. Napoleonic Wars, 1792 to... The master will kill with the breath of his mouth and with the power of his appearance. In other words, he's going to turn red, white, and blue. Dropped a bomb on me, baby. 1805, the Battle of Trafalgar. Trafalgar was a man. No, wait, he was a dragon man. But he was still Trogdor. That's old. Trogdor is Trump. Trump door. Trog. OGs remember Trogdor. All right, so that's the mark of the evil mouth of the scholar that drags away. That's what Trafalgar mean. Interesting how it sounds like Balfagor. Gore. Fal. To literally procreate gore. To procreate in a gory way. It's unnatural flesh. Balfagor. Trafalgar. It could insinuate they're trying to drag God away. You could read it in a few ways. The Battle of Trafalgar, fought on the 21st of October. They love October. It's the harvest. Route 91 harvest. One of a giant black pyramid and a black monolith with Saudi royals having a meeting. Stephen Paddock. 21 of October 1805 is part of the War of the Third Coalition assembled by Britain against France. It was the most significant naval battle of the Napoleonic Wars and the pivotal naval battle of the 19th century. Isn't it interesting how a lot of times it's fought on the water? Why do you think Messiah walked on the water and ceased the chaos with a word? Shalom, Hasha. It's literally what he said. 1808. Oh wait, 1805, Battle of Austerlitz. Napoleon. There's a lot of Austrian and Poland thing always happening. Isn't that interesting? The Battle of Austerlitz, also known as the Battle of the Three Emperors, was Napoleon's greatest victory, where the French Empire effectively crushed the Third Coalition. Remember the horn? It uproots three by the roots. Isn't that interesting? Because the US did a similar thing in its history. They're all trying to do the same thing. They're all emulating the same image, and that is the beast in Revelation and Daniel. That's what they emulate naturally. They can't help it. He wears a scarlet tunic and a blue-green hood. It looks quite good. He likes it. Understand? 1808 to 1833, Spanish-American Wars of Independence. You see what's spreading here. It's like, oh, it's freedom. It's like, sure. We're gonna cut the cords and burst the bonds. That's up and down. That's left and right. That's the whole axis. It's the X, Y, Z. It's all the accesses. We're going to burst the bonds and cut the cords. It's the fifth dimension. Trump has done that. He's got no strings to hold him down. Do you understand? He is, what is that guy's name again? Ultron. Don. It's literally a small scholar or small lamentation of evil. A small scholar of evil. That's Joktan. Joktan will be the Antichrist. Trump is a Joktanite. That's why they do the whole little hands thing. The whole little hand thing. My hands aren't small. It's like, no, your yod is. Do the Indian love call. Start yodeling. When I'm calling you. gratitude, my love. 1810. Oh, wait. The Spanish-American Wars of Independence were the numerous wars against Spanish rule in Spanish America that took place in the early 19th century after the French invasion of Spain during Europe's Napoleonic Wars. See how this man, just like Hitler, he invades other countries and he's zigzagging. That's Beelzebub, the zigzagger. Beelzebub. We are going to make America great again. Okay. 1810, 1818, Argentine Wars of Independence. Argentina. Man, it's a perfect place to flee when she destroyed the world. The Argentine War of Independence was fought from 1810 to 1818 by Argentine patriotic forces under Manuel Belgrano. That's again, the beloved drags away man. That's what Belgrano means. The house of God drags away man. Juan Jose Castelli and Jose de San Martin against royalist forces loyal to the Spanish crown. Hispaniola. You remember Muppet Treasure Island? They're sailing on the Hispaniola. Trump is just a lonely orphan, sweeping the floors. The Mexican War of Independence, 1810 to 1821, was an armed conflict between the people of Mexico and the Spanish colonial authorities, which started on September 16th, 1810. You see how it's orchestrated. It's all to distract. They're so weak, they have to have all these distractions just to do what they want. 1810 to 1823, Venezuelan War of Independence. Venez is literally Venus. It's panes, it's the strength of the face. It's the strength of the mouth's testimony. Wellen, that would be lawn. The testimony of the scholar of man. So the strength of the mouth and its authority, and the testimony of the scholar or lamentation of man, Venezuela. You should see what's going on there. There's a lot of oil there too. There's probably a lot of oil everywhere though. The Venezuelan War of Independence, 1810 to 1823. They're just colonizing, incorporating, was one of the Spanish-American Wars of Independence in the early 19th century when independence movements in Latin America fought against the rule by the Spanish emperor. Ever wonder why it's called the Spanish flu? Ever wonder? I wonder. 1810 to 1826, Chilean War of Independence. Chile's baby back ribs, barbecue sauce. Chilean War of Independence. There's a Kiliad. That is one of David's sons. I can look that up right now. It'd be better to get it as a full name. It's better to translate something as a full name than the alphabet thing I do. It's just I'm at a lower level right now. When I get higher, I'll be able to incorporate more roots and stuff like that. So Chilean is what I'm looking for. Wow. Because kala means to come to an end. Man of finality. is Chile, where the Incans ruled. Cala is to come to an end. Cala pane would be then, it's where your face comes to an end. That's why I said it could be translated as you carry all your things there to be destroyed. In Albanian, in sheep, it would sound like you take your things to the furnace. Cala pena. Wow. So Chile is literally Cale, to bring to an end. Where is it located? The ends of the earth. The ends of its continent. It's a very defined border on that side because of the mountains, isn't it? Why is it called Chile? Mount Kilauea. Kilauea. Ava. Killa Ava. Literally, to bring Ava to an end is Mount Kilauea. You cannot make this up. This is serious business. This isn't just me wanting to express my opinion. I don't care. I do it because I want people to hear it, because I believe it's true because of everything I'm doing with it. I don't have to do it. It's hot in here. I don't like doing this physically. I actually enjoy speaking about it because it's very interesting to me and it helps me make connections. But people really need to open their eyes and look at what's going on. Look at what's going on. Oops, this one's still too big. Let me shorten it so that you can see the whole thing. I didn't even realize that. Come on. Look at all these islands. The islands are really dark, aren't they? Because the islands were the Copts of Solomon, of Egypt, of anybody who controlled all this. The islanders were the Copts. So of course they have the cop head. Cop head isn't a bad thing. It's a way of calculating, and it can be used for good or bad. Remember? So we do not war against flesh and blood. So I don't know if I'm going to do another part today. If I do, it's going to be later. I'm going to eat something and see what happens. But next would be Chilean War, Independence, Peruvian War, Battle of Borodino, Napoleonic Wars, American War of 1812. In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we fought the bloody British at the town of New Orleans. Fired our guns till the British kept coming, running as many as there was a while ago. Fired our guns and they began to run all down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, my favorite is that we fired our cannon till the barrel melted down. Then we grabbed an alligator and we fought another round. We filled his head with cannonball and powdered his behind. And when we let the powder out, the gator lost his mind. We're gonna talk about that, but for now, what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna end this episode and let the Most High decide, because I'm very hot and sweaty and tired right now. I need to cool off and drink some water.
We've got people lined up for questions. I just got one more, because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out, I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian. And I go to church and I love God and I love my church. And Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale, was my pastor. The Power of Positive Thinking. Everybody's heard of Norman Vincent Peale. He was so great. He would give a sermon, you never wanted to leave. Sometimes we have sermons and every once in a while we think about leaving a little early, right, even though we're Christian. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Frank, would give a sermon. I'm telling you, I still remember his sermons. It was unbelievable. And what he would do is he'd bring real life situations, modern day situations, into the sermon. And you could listen to him all day long. When you left the church, you were disappointed that it was over. He was the greatest guy. And then, he passed away, but he was a great. He wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a great book.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. Now, when I take, when we go in church and when I drink my little wine, which is about the only wine I drink, and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. And I do that as often as possible because I feel cleansed.